What you looking at, Sonia?
I'm looking at this piece of the Oryx horn. How did it get from that long, thick horn that we first bought into this that you can actually use on a bow?
It took a lot of work figuring out how to thin it both on the outside and on the inside. We've got it to the point now where it's thin enough, I believe, that we can boil it, flatten it out, do a final shaping, sand it some more and do a final shaping, and get it ready to actually apply to the belly of the bow that we're working on. Step number 1 is splitting the horn. I'm using a Japanese style cut on the draw handsaw to saw this Oryx horn in half and then trim it to length. With the cut partially done on one side of the horn, I've reversed it to make an incision on the opposite side. Then we can turn it over and saw it fully down its length. With the guide cuts made on either side of the Oryx horn, I can now saw it straight down through the length of the horn until we get to that area where the tip is so thick it's not going to be useful as a bow belly liner. Now that the horn has been split down its length, I'm trimming off the excess tip so that we'll have two pieces of horn, each of which will be useful to reinforce each of the bow limbs, upper and lower. I attempted to steam and flatten these sections of horn, but the material was simply too thick to be able to reshape, so I'm going to have to work down its thickness in order to steam it and flatten it. I would have loved to be able to keep the ridges on the base of the Oryx horn, but in order to get it thin enough, those have to go. Maybe on another project, we'll be able to build a bow where they show up. I'm using a woodworking gouge to remove substantial amounts of material from the interior of each one of the horn sections. Once the bulk of the excess material has been removed, I bring the Stanley round rasp into play to help finish reducing the overall thickness of the horn so that it will flatten out when we get ready to steam it. Lacking a micrometer, I use a C-clamp as a make-do gauge in order to check the thickness as I'm working down the horn. Coarse sandpaper is used to smooth out the surface and to further reduce the thickness of the horn. The C-clamp gauge confirms a uniform thickness down the length of the horn. I use a small Sureform flat plane now to further smooth the exterior of each one of the horn sections. Once again, coarse sandpaper comes into play to help smooth the surface on the exterior of the horn. I'm using the shoemaker's rasp again to smooth out the ribbed area at the base of the horn, so once again that you'll have uniform thickness. Looks odd, but I'm using the technique that the sword sharpeners use in Japan. The grinder is held in a single position and you move the stock. Works out better for me the way my hands operate. Pleased to say that the heavy lifting is now over when it comes to shaping the horn. This is what we started with. Now we have 2 pieces of horn sized to be ready for steaming and flattening. In the next video we'll do that as well as produce the scias and the grip portion, so we'll be ready for bow assembly as soon as we get our sinew or rawhide in. Want to invite you to subscribe and to leave positive comments. Stay in touch.